Welcome to season 2 of the Energy Upgrade podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa, master biohacker and successful entrepreneur. In season 1 of the Energy Upgrade, you got to have a taste for my obsession in all things health, energy, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and biohacking, or how to take radical responsibility in living a life by design. As a certified health coach, integrated health practitioner, kinesiologist, and seasoned entrepreneur who built and sold a 7-figure business, I want to dive deeper in this season 2. After healing myself from burnout, from my health falling apart, my hormones leaving my body, I'm here to share everything I wish someone had told me. Every day, I have the incredible opportunity to be mentoring women and supporting them in becoming true magnetic energy bombs. I'm helping them remember who they were all along. It's so powerful that I want to take you in on the journey, almost as if you were a fly on the wall. You'll find that I'm not your typical health coach, and I'm not your typical business coach either. I'm somewhere in between with a lot of spirituality sprinkled in there. This podcast is a sacred place where I come and share with you things that will bring you a high return on investment, because yes, I'm all about ROI. Life goes fast, and if I can show you a shortcut or two, I'll have succeeded at bringing you value. Thank you for being here. Let's go.
Your time is now. Your energy is your life force. You want to be able to magnetize your wildest dreams. A liver detox is the fastest way to start healing. You can and you will.
Welcome back to another episode of the Energy Upgrade. This is your host, Vanessa Grutman. And today I'm so excited to have a conversation with someone I look up to, a savvy entrepreneur and a good friend, Dave Ruel. Now, in this conversation with Dave, I've asked him to come on the show because he's literally the expert of productivity. He's just he has so much wisdom to share in that field. And I thought, let's just have a conversation to help women just be more productive, because it tends to be something that we almost avoid, right? We know we need to be productive, but it's almost like we don't give ourselves the tools, or we don't even give ourselves the credit that we can be productive. Because the truth is, if we're looking for more freedom, if we're looking to be more creative and have more financial abundance, well, we're going to need to start being a little bit more efficient with how we take care of ourselves in every single day, but how we take care of our schedule, how we take care of our relationships. And that starts with some structures, some organizations, some sort of productivity hacks. And that's exactly the conversation I had with Dave. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about him. As an entrepreneur, Dave founded and sold 3 multi-million-dollar online companies in the field of health, fitness, and sports nutrition before the age of 40. So when I tell you he's a savvy entrepreneur, please listen to me. This is the truth. Also, he was really in the online space before it was on anyone's radar. So he's really, really a guru. Now, as an international speaker, best-selling author, and sought-after business coach, Dave's distinctive tools and systems are empowering entrepreneurs worldwide, helping them not just optimize their business game, but showing them how to play to win in both business and life. Dave lives on the east coast of Canada with his wife, Karine, and their 2 daughters. And you have heard, and probably if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen Karine, definitely, because her and I have collaborated as well. And in this episode, we actually are going to share how we all met. Me, my husband, Dave, and Karine, because this was literally it was, like Dave says, random, but I don't think it was random. I think this was pure serendipity. We were meant to meet each other. And we've had just this beautiful relationship because our families value the same things. We're very, very aligned on so many levels. So my friends, let's get productive, shall we? Let's learn how to get there. I know that you will gain lots of wisdom in this episode, so don't skip it. Now, let's go. Dave, welcome to the Energy Upgrade.
Hey, good to be here. How you doing?
Good. I'm so excited to have this conversation because every time we get to
Yeah.
have the chance to connect, it's always such a pleasure. So maybe we should start by giving context and sharing how we met.
It's the funniest thing, eh? Like it's the most random. We met in the most random way. So maybe you want to start, like, because I can say it. So it's I was speaking at Dr. Stephen Cabral's event. That was, when was that? In November of
2022.
2022. And Stephen is a good friend of mine, and yeah, he asked me to speak at his event, talk about productivity and integrating that into your business. And so obviously I'm French Canadian, and one of the first questions that I ask when I'm in the US, are there any Canadians in the audience? So there was like, I think three. And then I asked, are there any French Canadians in the audience? And you
I was the only
you guys
one.
were the only person. So obviously we met and we became friends. And next thing you know, Corinne was with me on that trip. And you met Corinne, you met with her, you guys became friends somehow. You hired Corinne for your business on the coaching side. Corinne hired you for her health. And there you go. So it felt like it was super random, but it led to
But not,
great
right?
friendship. Yeah, it's
Like
crazy.
I
It's
think
amazing.
I think this is serendipity. Like we were,
Hmm.
yeah, this was meant to be. So
It was meant to be.
yeah, and so yes, I joined your coaching container and you started helping me with some of my launches and really pushing me. So
Yeah.
that was early last year, end of 2022. And I
Yeah.
mean, since it's been pretty amazing. So I
Yeah.
thought,
That was good time. Like, that was during your exit, during when you were finalizing your exit from your first business and then going into coaching. And yeah, timing was great. And Corinne, same thing. She wanted to put her health, prioritize her health. So it was a good
it was
fit.
a
And by the
win-win.
way, and then hold on. A year later, after you came with us, you were coach of the year in our organization. So in our business. So Académie Altitude, coach of the year, Vanessa. Congratulations.
This was yeah, this was such a surprise. Thank you so much. But seriously, you guys are really precious humans, and I keep telling you both, but I wanted to bring you on today because you have taught me so much about productivity and efficiency. And the truth is and on this podcast, mostly women are listening. And the truth
Mhm.
is we tend to there's something sticky about that. Like it's like we tend to almost avoid it or not really, but
Mhm.
it's so important when you want to level up, whether it's in your personal life, in your relationship, or in your business. And you have built this method, the EFIC method, that really works. And now I love that you came in my program to teach also women entrepreneurs to be like, okay, guys, like
Yep.
it's time. Like we have to start putting structure here. So I thought, let's just have a conversation about productivity. Like if we want to raise the bar in 2024, where do we start? Dave, where
Yeah.
do we start?
That's productivity is a vast topic, and
Hmm.
you're right. Most entrepreneurs, because that's the thing, most entrepreneurs go in business for one thing, and that thing is freedom, right? And there's
Mm,
different sides to freedom. So obviously, we want freedom of time. We want to do things when we want. All right. Then there's creative freedom of creation. So we want to work on the things that we want. So basically, we want to work on what we want when we want, but there's also the financial freedom piece. We want to be paid for it, right? But in the process, because we're so attracted to that freedom, we mix up the fact that we think that freedom doesn't require structure. We think that freedom is actually doing whatever, whenever. And it really is not. There's a point in time where you need to apply strategy in that business, whether it's with marketing, whether it's with sales, but also you're managing your time, your energy, and your attention. So because I mean, I've been building online businesses since 2007. So I'm a dinosaur in the online space. But I sold three businesses, and in early 2017, I finalized the exit of my third one. Um, I started coaching officially like in 2017, like full time. So speaking and coaching. And when I started coaching, I was coaching mostly on growth strategies when it comes to marketing, sales, online presence, etc., and structure. But I totally what I didn't realize was the need for structure for entrepreneurs, and there was not a whole lot at the time available for entrepreneurs. So this is, and I had built my own structure. So this is when I took my own structure that I had built for myself, I was using for myself and with my team, and started teaching it to my students. And they started like actually really enjoying it because the results were coming in faster. What I was teaching, they were actually implementing faster with a great rate of success. I was like, okay, whoa. So it's not just for me, it's for everyone else. So I've built, and there was no name for that methodology, all right, at that time. So I got to name it, and let's build trainings. So that's what we did. Started, we named it EFIC. So EFIC is short for efficiency, but also efficacy. So efficiency is pretty much the ability to create, to use the least amount of resources in the process of creating something. And efficacy is the ability to create the desired or intended result or outcome. So it fits, we want to create the right thing, and we want to do it without burning out. We want to create, a nice pace for us, whatever it looks like. So we launched the methodology, followed by a planner. So we have planners now available we've been available since 2017 for 2018 for entrepreneurs. And then the methodology became really popular. We had coaches reaching out on how can I teach it to others. We launched a certification program, and it's been a staple, in our world anyway, when it comes to teaching entrepreneurship. Back to your question, really, on how to start. It's really so this one, acknowledge that business is not, it's not a hobby, all right? It's
Yeah.
a business. You need to be organized. You need to plan it. You need to plan your freedom. You need to have rules for yourselves. And I always use the analogy, the gym analogy. And basically that methodology is based of my sports performance background, because my first 3 businesses were in the health and fitness space. Think about the first time you went to the gym, right? You probably went there, had no idea what we're doing, had no structure, started working out. And then you realize that, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not seeing the results that a lot of people have. Like, now I need structure. So now you look, okay, there's actually a structure to my workouts. I need to do things on Monday. I need to do things on Tuesday. I need to do things on Wednesday. I mean, there's a structure to your workouts. Then there's a plan for your diet. Then there's obviously the goals that you need to set for yourselves. Where do I want to be in 12 months? Okay. I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, great. So now we're going to start with the first 90 days. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to start working on your calories. We're going to work on a small calorie deficit. We're going to get you in better shape. We're going to get you in better cardiovascular shape. We're going to get you a little bit more muscle so you can work out a little bit harder, right? So the goal, the first 90 days, is geared towards the goals that you set for yourselves. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that structure over time pays off, right? It's not like a magic pill. It just working the muscle of discipline and consistency that pays off. And that's the same thing here with that methodology.
So essentially what you're saying is, it's one thing to have a big goal, which is the end point. But what you do with EFIC is you bring it back to 90 days, so quarter, and then you break it up even further. Do you want to talk about the big rocks, the small rocks, and the sand, maybe? Because that was 100%. For me, and I'm very visual. So for me, it was so helpful to understand that, and it made so much sense.
Yeah. So it's actually funny because the main thing for us, it's alignment, right? Do you align your actions with really what you want out of your business, right? And especially the goals that you set on the long term, but also on the medium and short term. So the rocks is a way. So the rocks is a way for us to manage the workload and the projects in the business. So I didn't come up with that analogy. Obviously, Dr. Stephen Covey popularized it. It's called the pickle jar theory, but it's pretty much on the premise that when you have big rocks, small rocks, and sand, if you prioritize the small things first, it's going to create a layer at the bottom of your bucket, and then you're going to attend to bigger tasks. So a little bigger tasks. So the small rocks is going to create another layer, and then what you're going to notice is that the big rocks, then there's not going to be enough space for the big rocks. But if you do the opposite, when you're very clear on what your milestones are, what your objectives, what your results are, and you put that first in your bucket, from there you attend the small rocks. So you attach to each big rock a certain number of small rocks. So what happens in the bucket, like visually, you probably saw that. You can type it like pickle jar theory on YouTube. You're going to see the methodology. But the small rocks are going to go in the crevices, in the holes between the big rocks. And then when you pour in the sand, it's going to fill all the little gaps between the big rocks and the small rocks. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to have a perfectly filled bucket, but also space in that bucket. And that space piece is super important, because in business, space is what brings a competitive advantage. Speed, it brings you speed. When you have more space, well, you can have more space for yourself, but also more space to actually
create, innovate, do other things. Yeah.
100%. So it's that's the analogy. And when I remember the first time that I saw Dr. Covey do this analogy with actually the big rocks, small rocks, the sand, I was like, this is exactly the way I would structure a workout. You set up your big goals, you understand them, and from there, you're like, okay, now I'm going to create a program, and in that program on Monday, you're going to have, bench press, and you're going to have this and that, and Tuesday you're going to do this, and Monday you're going to do legs, and etc. And each day you attach a certain number of exercises, and each exercise has a movement that needs to be performed in order to perform it well. That's the exact same. I was like, okay, it makes total sense. I could relate it to my context at that point. And I've built my work methodology, so my workload methodology based on that. So we start testing, really, okay, how much can I lift? That was the thing. How much work can I lift? So now it was applying that work, realizing that, okay, if I have too many buckets, that doesn't work. So we boiled it down to we found the most effective way for an entrepreneur to really carry a workload that is manageable. It's with a maximum of 3 buckets. And the 3 buckets each have 4 big rocks. So four milestones, okay? Like key steps that you need to accomplish in order for this bucket to be executed. Then for each big rock, you attach a maximum of 5 small rocks, and each small rock then has sand. You can break it down, be very granular, but we don't focus that much on the sand piece, because we don't want entrepreneurs to focus on all the small details. Because here's the thing, when you focus on small details, what happens is you start procrastinating. Like, the problem with people who call themselves perfectionists.
Exactly.
Yeah. What it is, it's just insecurity in disguise, and you're going to lose yourself in the sand. You're not going to execute. So you can do it. There's a place for it in the planners, but it's the last thing that you do. Like, you pretty much planned it the day before.
Yeah. It's so important what you're bringing up, because that is, as we know, the number one problem with entrepreneurs is when fears start coming up. And that's usually when you focus on the tiniest details that actually don't even matter that much. So it helped me. I remember when we started working together, you asked me, okay, what is your big vision, like your 12 months goal? And then how do we bring that back to, okay, what are the aligned actions you need to take in the next 3 months to make it happen? And I remember just feeling like, okay, this 12-month goal felt really overwhelming, out of reach. And then suddenly when you bring it down to 3 months, it becomes really clear. Okay, well, I'm going to launch my podcast. I'm going to do my first event. I'm going to do, and then, okay, so if I want to launch my podcast, what do I need? Okay, I need to write my first 50 episodes. Then I need to do this and do that. And then you realize that actually, if you decide to take action on one of these rocks every single day, the first thing you know, I launched my podcast in 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah,
I
big
remember
time.
Doreen was like, okay, what's the date? And we decided on the day, I think
Yep.
it was Valentine's Day, like February 14th. And I was like, well, that's in 2 weeks. She's like, yep. Okay, let's do it.
And that's a
And
cool piece. The cool thing that you built it, it's done, and then you set up a process, what we call routines, to manage it. And that's what you did. And next thing you know, how many episodes you got now on the podcast?
so we're up like 55-ish. Yeah.
Boom, 55 episodes later, right? It's think about it. It's simple, but if you hadn't like focused on the one thing, they would never gone out.
Oh no,
Right.
I would have been thinking about it for 6 months and like
Yeah.
toying with like, oh, but like what picture do I want to use for the cover and what color and what name and
Yeah.
and so I really love to use this method still to this day, especially when there's like a project that feels like a big mountain.
Yeah.
And then first thing you know is you're moving the needle every single day and you're taking aligned action, and that actually feels good.
And you learn about yourself in the process. That's the thing. I always say, like, at first it's funny because every single entrepreneur will start with 3 full buckets. And then you realize that, oh gosh, that's a little bit heavy to
Mm-hmm.
carry. And then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to cut down or realize that, okay, one bucket what I thought was one bucket is actually 3 buckets. And then you start to understand like the workload. You start to understand how you operate. You start to understand that, a project that you thought was a lot lighter is actually pretty heavy. And it's the same thing with working out. You think you can lift whatever weight, you try, you fail, and you're like, okay, I got to adjust. And after a while, when you do that for a year, 2 years, 3 years, it becomes like you don't even what you need, what you can lift and cannot lift.
Yeah.
You know what you can take on. You know that when you're tired, when you're not going to go at, not going to do a 1 rep max. Well, it's the same thing here. It's like you understand that with how you feel at the moment. Sometimes you can be busier. You can be more stressed. I mean, with women, and Karen works on it a lot with her clients, is that you have your menstrual cycle to take into effect.
Mm-hmm.
That to take into account. So a guy doesn't have that. A woman needs to take that into account when she works. And there's weeks where she's going to be more productive. There's weeks where she's going to need to lighten the load a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's normal, but that's part of the self-awareness process that comes with working like that. And again, it's exactly like working out, right? When you're on your when you have your period, you're probably not going to hit some
No.
personal best at the gym, right?
And it'll look more like yoga and flow
Exactly.
and yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah.
Different beat, different pace.
Exactly. I want to
Mhm.
go back to something you said at the very beginning because it's so true. Like the 3 reasons why people want to dive into entrepreneurship, which is freedom of time, freedom of creation, and financial freedom, I guess, or abundance.
Yep.
So this brings me to talk about, okay, it's one great thing to know what your buckets are and to know what your focus is for the next 3 months. And it's great to put it in your planner. Then you have to actually do it. And that's where the schedule comes in. And
Yep.
I find that actually freedom of time and freedom of creation
Yeah.
depends on your schedule.
100%. Because that's the thing, when I said about like understanding like how to prioritize properly with the big rocks, small rocks in the sand, and the fact that you would prioritize things properly will create space in your schedule, and then you can allocate this space to whatever you want. But again, I
Mhm.
always say it needs to be aligned. We call actually this space in your schedule. We call that in my book Done by Noon. We call that air, aligned investment of resources. So your time, your energy, your attention. How do you want to allocate that time? Right? For some people, it could be I want to work more because I want to build a bigger business for whatever reason. I mean, and some people it's like, no, I just want to work less because I want to spend more time with my kids, or I want to play pickleball more. I mean, I don't know, whatever floats your boat. So that's why it's super important when I talked about alignment, is that it's super important to always have a visual of that alignment, a visual of what does that look like? What does your dream life look like? What do you want really, right? And from there you reverse engineer. And there's an exercise, you've done that exercise, I think, before, the big picture exercise. It's an exercise that we give to our clients, that the goal is to paint the perfect day. How do you picture yourself on your best day? Like, what does that look like when you achieved what you wanted, when you're at the top of the mountain? What does that look like? And people write it down, and from there, like, okay, cool. So based on that vision, what would you like to see a reality within the next 12 months? So now we start writing down 5 things that we want to see become a reality. And the cool thing by working quarterly is that every quarter, every 90 days, there's always 12 months. Then there's the next 12 months.
It's
Okay,
always
we
being
review
pushed.
that.
Yes.
It's being pushed. Exactly. It's not like we all work with a calendar year where on January 1st, we do our goals, our resolutions, and then like we evaluate that on December 31st, although it's perfectly fine to do so. But with this methodology, it's really understanding that as I progress on my path, I'm going to gain perspective. And that perspective might make things evolve. Like my annual guideline, some things might be done, but some things might change, and that's perfectly fine. Obviously, like, that's how we coach people, is that not all the 5 things should change in a matter of 90 days, right? Most of your annual guideline will stay mostly the same thing, but it's fine to realign, because you realize that, okay, I drifted a little bit. Now let's get back to a straighter path, like a more direct line, because the quickest way to go somewhere is always in a straight line, right?
I like that, because it actually gives space to be like, okay, things can actually might move faster, right? Because I remember when I did that exercise, I had put, I would love to do to reach 250,000 as revenue in my first year. Like, that was my goal. And like 6 months later, I'm like, oh,
yeah, done, check.
I'm there already. Okay. So then what's next?
Yeah.
And that's super motivating, right? To be like, I actually don't want status quo. So it's a moving target. We keep going.
Because you gain perspective. And that's such a good lesson, because here's the thing. Even the big picture, like, more than often, what I realize with our clients is that their big picture, when they first do it, is just a little bit more, or let's say double or triple of what they're doing now, because it's
not even that big. Yeah.
No, because it's based on what they know.
Exactly.
And when you open yourselves to dreaming really big and understanding that I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do that, but that's what I want. Oh, perfect. Let's figure out a way. Let's figure it out, right? Who says that? I think Marie Folio says that, right? Everything's figure outable. It is. Like, you just figure it out on how to do so. And now it's perfect, because we talked about gaining perspective. See, for you, that's what you did in your first 6 months. Like, oh, shoot, okay, that looks different than I thought, and I reached that goal, and I was not dreaming or seeing big enough. And then you realigned, and it's perfectly fine to do so, and it's perfectly fine to rewrite your big picture as well. We do that every year with Corinne. Like, it's funny, because we do that every year. We rent a cottage, or we go somewhere for 2 days. I think you did that with Phil this year too.
Yeah.
Like, going somewhere, and we write down our big pictures individually, okay, on our own. And from there, and then we compare notes. Right? And
we're like, okay, well, I'm going to fly solo this year. Looks like we're not aligned.
For couples, especially for couples who work together, it's super important, because you need to be aligned on, you need to be side by side on this, and it's normal that some pieces of maybe the big vision might change, but this is when, okay, let's accommodate this, or let's compromise on that so we can stay aligned. But overall, this is how like, okay, we're really aligned with where we want to go. So it works in business, but it also life. I mean, for me, life and business, it's one thing. It's the harmony that needs to happen. And that's what that allows you to do, as far as alignment goes.
Yeah, it's so important. Talk to
Mhm.
me about your schedule. Like what does a day in the life of Dave look like, or a week maybe would be
Yeah.
better.
So here's the thing with your schedule. We have what we call the done by noon structure.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's funny because my book is called Done by Noon, and people think that, oh, you're done afternoon, like you don't do anything. That's not what it is. The thing is that if I told you that you only had until noon every day to work, how would you structure your day? So
You'd
obviously there's
figure out
things,
a way to get
yeah.
shit done.
Well, more than that, there's things that you will need to keep, that you would keep, absolutely keep. And there's things that will need to go, or
Mhm.
things that you would need to delegate, outsource, automate, whatever. So this is more like where we're going with that. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
if I give you that. So pretty much we boil it down to four types of tasks that every single entrepreneur will have on their schedule. The rocks that we talked about, the routines. We talked about the routines, but the routines is pretty much like taking the key tasks, key processes, recurring things that happen in your business that are required for its well-being, that need to be performed. Put that into a process, and understanding that you can only do so many yourself per day. That's the problem with entrepreneurs, is that they do everything all the time, and things after, with growth, things need to be outsourced, automated, etc. So the routines, then you have what we call the reactive tasks. So the reactive task is pretty much the byproduct of your activity. So things you didn't anticipate but still happen.
Mhm.
That's another problem for entrepreneurs, that these things keep piling up because of the lack of structure. So now it's structuring so you have less of these tasks. They will always happen. Okay,
Yeah,
let's be real. Like, they will always happen, but you can control the amount of you can control the reactivity, okay, in your
totally.
business. That's a big thing. And then you have what we call the responsive tasks. So everything that has to do with interpersonal communication, so emails, phone calls, meetings, etc. So we have different frameworks to optimize that. And yeah, so we work on that, and based on that, that's how I structure my schedule. My schedule changes based on my context. So for example, like when my daughters were little, well, they're 10 and 5 now, but it was a different schedule than now that they're more autonomous, let's
Yeah.
say.
They go to
So
school. Yeah, it's different.
yeah, exactly. So I changed that. In As a general rule, my schedule is super boring right now. So I wake up at 5:30. I go to the gym every morning, 5:30 to 7. I come back usually at 7. The kids are up, cook them breakfast, prepare them for school, drive them to school. I actually drive them to school every morning because the school is literally like 5 minutes from home, so it's perfect. So I get to do that, then come home, get ready. My work day usually starts around 8:30 or 9, depending. And from there, every day, so every day what I want to do is work on my rocks, okay, for at least 60 to 90 minutes. So there's a block of time every day that's allocated to that on my project. So the thing that I want to ensure with this is that there's always progression
Yes,
on it.
that you're
Okay?
moving the needle every day. Yeah.
Every day. Then there's key processes that keep changing, because obviously as the business grows and things change and contexts change, these change. But it could be like, let's say as the business grows, for example, this is where you have to get more, I would say, higher level tasks, right? So things like, checking the KPIs, the financials, meeting with your
Mhm.
CFO if you have one, things like that. All right. I do I keep some routines as well that could be weird, or that'd be like, okay, well, that's not very leveraged, but then have a big impact in my business. It's always will. It's all about connecting with others. So whether it's customers, partners, affiliates, etc., I always, or peers, or business contacts, always spend time every week to connect with people. Okay,
I
that's the
love
big
that.
thing. Yeah, it's been the biggest driver in my business for the past 17 years. And it's the connections that you make and how you entertain that. So writing a handwritten note to someone every week. I try to do it at least once, like at least one a week, 2, 3 sometimes, right? But it piles up. So at the end of the year, you have, I don't know, 100 120 handwritten notes sent.
Wow. So you
How,
send that to, partners, clients,
yes,
future prospects.
yes. Yeah.
Wow.
No,
Love that.
prospects, it depends. It depends on how the prospect, like, what type of relationship I have with that prospect, etc. But I kept like great business relationships with my clients who, like, with clients, past clients, even like colleagues who then became clients or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, it's just good practice, and it pays. I mean, think about it. If it's 120 cars that I sent, how many people, like, people don't receive anything in the mail, let alone
A
handwritten stuff.
handwritten, yes, by a man. Excuse me.
It's old school,
Like,
but
what do
it
you
it
even write
works.
about?
Honestly, I don't even write about anything. It's just say I'm grateful to have you in my life. That's it. Like, I'm so good.
Wow.
Thank you for and I got that from one of my early mentors, Craig Ballantyne. Like, I remember Craig, like, every Christmas and every at my birthday every year, used to send me a handwritten card. Still does every year. John Goodman, one of my good friends as well, does that. Notorious for that as well. It's integrated in his business, but it's sending random postcards. I receive random postcards from John. Like, he's in, I don't know, a country. He was in Maine last time. It's like, oh, I'm eating lobsters. I thought about you. Hope you're well. Like, things like that. But
Wow.
it's like, hey, now, I mean, John, beyond the fact that we're friends, but also from a business side, it just builds that trust. I love that. So I keep, anyway, like, back to the routines, I keep that kind of stuff.
Yes. Wow.
It's the kind
I'm
of
gonna
things that
steal that
I
one. This is so
I
good.
love to do. It is, like, honestly, I think everyone should steal this. I think this is the thing that we don't do enough, and it paid off multiples. So for me, that hour of time is actually super valuable.
Yeah. And, look, recently you've opened a mastermind. You literally had two
Mhm.
posts to do and it filled up. You didn't have to do anything. Like, you posted about it, sent a couple emails, and like all the people that you had been connecting with, they were like, yes, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And like me, I'm
It-
like, okay, I want to hire a coach for
yeah,
my husband. Okay, you're the one. So it helps you to stay top of mind, and you never know where the next opportunity will come from, right?
oh my, 100%. That's the thing, because you build trust, but it needs to be firm. Like, I do that because I love that.
No,
I
of
love people.
course.
I love connecting. I mean, I'm a massive extrovert. I love being with people. I love talking to people. And I mean, when I send voice notes to people, I send voice notes to people on my Instagram, like, randomly,
Mm, yeah.
prospect. And it's not in a slimy way. It's like, oh yeah, you should get my product. No, it's like, hey, welcome to my world. Hope you're well. If I can be of service, let me know. Right?
I love
Well, things
that.
like that. You got to give a shit. Like, honestly, like, you got to give a shit. I don't know if it's clean show, Vanessa. I'm sorry if
No, no,
I.
that we're allowed to say this. We're
Yes.
unapologetic here.
Oh, there you go. Okay, perfect. There you go. So, yeah, but seriously, it needs to be embedded in your business model, and yeah, that's what I think.
And especially with the rise of AI,
Mhm.
like,
Oh,
there's
shoot,
never been
big
a
time.
better time to
Mhm.
just have integrity and really care and want to
Yeah.
service and help others. Like, it's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's why we're doing what we're doing. Otherwise, like, you got to find something else.
That's why AI. So I'm a big fan of AI. I love what's being built with AI right now. I love where it's going. I mean, I'm very positive about what it's going to do for human beings as far as productivity and work. Is usually actually the time that you're saving using AI. Like, look at how much time you're saving you just with Chat GPT. Like, it's insane. Like, I save at least 2, 3, 4 hours a week with Chat GPT now. So the 2, 3, 4 hours a week, I'm going to invest it into actually injecting more humanity in my business, right? If you do that, it's AI at the service of humanity. It's perfect. So, but anyway, let's go back quickly to what we do. So the routines, there's two small windows for reactive. So one for reactive tasks. Okay. So usually it's 30 minutes. All right. So I try to keep it within 30 minutes.
So that's
And then,
fires to put out.
yeah, but just like byproducts of daily activities, things,
Okay.
not necessarily a fire, but something that happens. Oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you sign that document? Can you,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it,
Okay.
Right. And then any communication as well. So emails, etc. I try to keep a limited amount. Depending on the season, sometimes I have two of these routines per day, one in the morning, one in the evening, just to keep in track. If I see, for example, that there were times when I had, an executive assistant working with me on my emails. Right now, with like what we're doing with the academy, like obviously there's less volume of emails or anything like that. I mean, when I was running, I was CEO of BiOptimize, which is my third company. There was a ton of email. I mean, there was not a single day where I was not receiving at least, 150, 200 emails. So, you need help with that. So, but the way to do that is one, optimize how you manage your inbox, and then limit the number of like your time slot. That's it. And the rest, it's all for speed. So mostly it's working on projects to get them out faster. Spend quite a bit of time actually creating, because I love creating. So obviously creating marketing, but also creating new frameworks, new structures, new models for our clients that we want to serve. So innovating within our delivery, but also innovating with our marketing. I keep some time for sales as well. Still does some sales, not a whole lot, but I still do. I make them count. So again, it's mostly like sales that come from what I do, like, people that come request a meeting, for example, based on the routines that I do, like call that H to H, human to human stuff. And there you go. And usually at 5, there's a hard stop. Sometimes it's before. And from there, I it's just pure family time. So my calendar is super boring that way, where it's you go to escape the 9 to 5, but I have a 9 to 5 schedule from Monday to Friday. My weekends are off, so I don't work weekends now, because obviously the girls have ice skating on. I'm there for every single one of their practice. That's the thing, I didn't want it to be like my dad, who was never at my basketball and hockey practice or anything like that. I was like, I'm going to be a different dad. I'm going to be present. So I'm there every single day, every single weekend. So I spend pretty much my time in an arena on weekends. I play hockey as well in the rec league. And so I play this too. So I spend my weekends in an arena here in New Brunswick.
Yeah. Really, both of you are spectacular humans. You have your values are so strong, you're family first, and you're actually walking the talk. So that speaks volume about this method. Clearly it works, because you guys are like, really contributing to this world, adding value, but at the same time, you're not compromising your personal life and your lifestyle. So that's awesome. Thank you for
Never.
sharing all of your tips and tricks and gifts. Really, this was
You're
such a powerful
welcome.
conversation, and I will always remember that Dave Ruel was the one who introduced me to ChatGPT.
That's
You were
true.
the first one
That's
who
right.
brought that to my attention, so you will
Hmm.
always, that connection will always be there. And I remember
That's
you
true.
you said it in French for the first time, and you're like, that doesn't sound very good. They should have thought about
Yeah.
that.
For non-French speakers, so Chat GPT, you can just translate it by cat, I just farted.
Yes.
Phonetically, that's what it means. It's terrible, but it's
So in
hilarious.
French, it sounds like that. And it's like, I
Yeah.
remember you said it and you're like, that didn't sound really good out loud
And that was the first time I think that I was singing out
in
loud in French. I was
French.
like, oh, that sounds weird.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love also your perspective on AI and how to utilize it instead of like looking at it as it's the worst thing in the world. Like, let's just make
Yeah.
use of it so that we can create even bigger, bolder things in this world,
You don't want to be like your grandmother when the internet was came along. Okay, oh, it's gonna be a fad. No, I gotta still send faxes. No, hey, come on, like embrace it. It's the greatest breakthrough in technology in the history of mankind. Well, guess what? I think AI is even bigger than the internet. We just don't know it yet. It's going to be bigger. And in my opinion, it's going to be a game changer for a lot of things. It's going to change the way we do things. So being afraid of AI is worthless, because AI is there and it's there to stay. So now embrace it. You still time to be an early adopter, obviously, but the future, I think, belongs to those who embrace AI. Period. Period.
While being anchored in your values of human to
100%.
human. That's why you're not frazzled by it, because you know you have integrity. You're connecting with humans. You know, like that's not going to come and compete with you. There's no way.
But that's the thing. And it goes back to what I was saying about work-life harmony, right? I don't believe in
Exactly.
work-life balance because I don't think work and life are contradicting forces. I think work and life work together, especially for entrepreneurs, especially
Yes.
as a dance, right? It's the yin and the yang. And when you're in your personal life, when you're doing stuff in your personal life, well, business is always going to be there in the back of your mind. You're an entrepreneur. You just don't switch off just like that. It's the same thing with business. If you have something that's not going well at work, in your personal life, I mean, it's gonna have like consequences in your professional life. So,
Mhm.
it's not a balance, it's a harmony. And the thing is to learn how to dance with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Amen. Dave, where can we find you? The people that want to find your book and the Ethic Planner, where can they find
Yeah.
you?
So you can go on effic.co, effic.co. So that's for the Effic website. You can check Dave Ruel, DaveRuel.com. Instagram, mostly where I spend my time on social media. So at Dave Ruel, simple as that. Most of my content now is in French, but there's still some stuff in English. And yeah, go check it out. And let's be friends and say hi.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was such a fun conversation. And I can't wait to see you on the internet.
Well, we'll see you soon. I feel like we see each other all the time lately. So,
Yes. Love it. Okay. Take
yeah.
care. Bye. The information shared on this podcast is for information purposes only and doesn't provide any medical advice. Vanessa Grutman does not cure, diagnose, or treat disease. Please consult your physician before trying any new protocol or product.